Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jataka number 159. Mora-Jātaka. There he rises, king all-seeing, etc. This story the master told at Jetavana monastery about a backsliding brother. This brother was led by some others before the master, who asked, "Is it true, brother, as I hear, that you have backslided?" "Yes, sir." "What have you seen that should make you do so?" "A woman dressed up in magnificent attire." Then said the master, "What wonder that womankind should trouble the wits of a man like you? Even wise men, who for 700 years have done no sin, on hearing a woman's voice have transgressed in a moment. Even the holy become impure. Even they who have attained the highest honor have thus come to disgrace, how much more the unholy?" And he told a story of the olden time. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the bodhisattva came into this world as a peacock. The egg which contained him had a shell as yellow as a Kanakara bud. And when he broke the shell, he became a golden peacock, fair and lovely, with beautiful red lines under his wings. To preserve his life, he moved across 3 ranges of hills, and in the 4th he settled, on a plateau of a golden hill in Dandaka. When day dawned, as he sat upon the hill, watching the sun rise, he composed a Brahma spell to preserve himself safe in his own feeding ground, the charm beginning "There he rises. There he rises, king all-seeing, making all things bright with his golden light. You I worship, glorious being, making all things bright with your golden light. Keep me safe, I pray, through the coming day." Worshipping the sun on this wise by the verse here recited, he repeats another in worship of the Buddhas who have passed away, and all their virtues. All saints, the righteous, wise in holy tradition. These do I honor, and their aid implore. All honor to the wise, to wisdom honor be. To freedom, and to all that freedom has made free. Uttering this charm to keep himself from harm, the peacock went in feeding. So after flying about all day, he came back at evening and sat on the hilltop to see the sun go down. Then as he meditated, he uttered another spell to preserve himself and keep off evil, the one beginning "There he sets. There he sets, the king all-seeing. He that makes all bright with his golden light. You I worship, glorious being, making all things bright with your golden light. Through the night, as through the day. Keep me safe, I pray. All saints, the righteous, wise in holy tradition. These do I honor and their aid implore. All honor to the wise, to wisdom honor be. To freedom, and to all that freedom has made free. Uttering this charm to keep himself from harm, the peacock fell in sleeping. Now there was a savage who lived in a certain village of wild huntsmen, near Benares. Wandering about among the Himalaya hills, he noticed the bodhisattva perched upon the golden hill of Dandaka, and told it to his son. It so happened that on a day one of the wives of the king of Benares, Khema by name, saw in a dream a golden peacock holding a religious discourse. This she told to the king, saying that she longed to hear the discourse of the golden peacock. The king asked his courtiers about it. And the courtiers said, "The Brahmins will be sure to know." The Brahmins said, "Yes, there are golden peacocks." When asked, "Where?" they replied, "The hunters will be sure to know." The king called the hunters together and asked them. Then this hunter answered, "O Lord King, there is a golden hill in Dandaka. And there a golden peacock lives. Then bring it here, kill it not, but just take it alive." The hunter set snares in the peacock's feeding ground. But even when the peacock stepped upon it, the snare would not close. This the hunter tried for 7 years, but catch him he could not. And there he died. And Queen Khema too died without obtaining her wish. The king was angry because his queen had died for the sake of a peacock. He caused an inscription to be made upon a golden plate to this effect. Among the Himalaya mountains is a golden hill in Dandaka. There lives a golden peacock. And whosoever eats of its flesh becomes ever young and immortal. This he enclosed in a casket. After his death, the next king read this inscription. And thought he, I will become ever young and immortal. So he sent another hunter. Like the first, this hunter failed to capture the peacock, and died in the quest. In the same way the kingdom was ruled by 6 successive kings. Then a seventh arose, who also sent on a hunter. The hunter observed that when the golden peacock came into the snare, it did not shut to, and also that he recited a charm before setting out in search of food. Off he went to the marches, and caught a peahen, which he trained to dance when he clapped his hands, and at snap of finger to utter her cry. Then, taking her along with him, he set the snare, fixing its uprights in the ground, early in the morning, before the peacock had recited his charm. Then he made the peahen utter a cry. This unaccustomed sound, the female's note, woke desire in the peacock's breast. Leaving his charm unsaid, he came towards her, and was caught in the net. Then the hunter took hold of him and conveyed him to the king of Benares. The king was delighted at the peacock's beauty, and ordered a seat to be placed for him. Sitting on the offered seat, the bodhisattva asked, Why did you have me caught, O king? Because they say all that eat of you become immortal and have eternal youth. So I wish to gain youth eternal and immortality by eating of you, said the king. So be it, granted that all who eat of me become immortal and have eternal youth. But that means that I must die. Of course it does, said the king. Well, and if I die, how can my flesh give immortality to those that eat of it? Your color is golden. Therefore those who eat your flesh become young and live so forever. Sir, replied the bird, there is a very good reason for my golden color. Long ago, I held imperial sway over the whole world, reigning in this very city. I kept the 5 commandments, and made all people of the world keep the same. For that I was born again after death in the world of the 33 archangels. There I lived out my life, but in my next birth I became a peacock in consequence of some sin. However, golden I became because I had formerly kept the commandments. What? Incredible! You an imperial ruler, who kept the commandments. Born gold-colored as the fruit of them. A proof, please. I have one, sire. What is it? Well, sire, when I was monarch, I used to pass through mid-air seated in a jeweled chariot, which now lies buried in the earth beneath the waters of the royal lake. Dig it up from beneath the lake, and that shall be my proof. The king approved the plan. He caused the lake to be drained, and dug out the chariot, and believed the bodhisattva. Then the bodhisattva addressed him thus. Sire, except nirvana, which is everlasting, all things else, being worldly in their nature, are unsubstantial, transient, and subject to living and death. Teaching on this theme he established the king in keeping of the commandments. Peace filled the king's heart. He gave his kingdom to the bodhisattva, and showed him the highest respect. The bodhisattva returned the gift. And after a few days' stay, he rose up in the air, and flew back to the golden hill of Dandaka, with a parting word of advice, O king, be careful. And the king on his part stuck to the bodhisattva's advice. And after giving alms and doing good, passed away to fare according to his deeds. This discourse ended, the master explained the truths, and identified the birth. Now after the truths the backsliding brother became a saint. Ananda was the king of those days, and I myself was the golden peacock. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jataka number 160. Vinīlaka-Jātaka. As over their king goes galloping, etc. This story the master told during a stay in Vilavana, how Devadatta imitated the Buddha. The two chief disciples went to visit Gayasisa, where Devadatta imitated the Buddha, and fell. The elders then both returned, after delivering a discourse, taking with them their own pupils. On arriving at Vilavana, the master asked them what Devadatta had done when he saw them. Sir, they said, he imitated the Buddha, and was utterly destroyed. The master answered, it is not only now, Sariputra, that Devadatta came to serious destruction by mimicking me. It was just the same before. Then at the elder monk's request, he told an old world tale. Once upon a time, when Videha was reigning at Mithila in the realm of Videha, the bodhisattva became a son of his queen wife. He grew up in due course, and was educated at Taxila. And on his father's decease he inherited his kingdom. At that time a certain king of the golden geese paired with a crow at the feeding grounds, and to them was born a son. He was like neither mother nor father. All dull blue-black he was, and accordingly they gave him Dull to his name. The goose king often visited his offspring. And he had besides 2 other sons, geese like himself. These remarked that he often used to go to the regions where mankind do frequent, and asked him what should be the reason. My sons, said he, I have a mate there, a crow, and she has given me a son, whose name is Dull. He it is I go to visit. Where do they live? They asked. On a palm top near Mithila in the kingdom of Videha, describing the spot. Father, said they, where men are, there is fear and peril. You should not go there. Let us go and fetch him to you. So they took a stick, and perched Dull upon it. Then catching the ends in their beaks, they flew over the city of Mithila. At that moment King Videha was by chance to be sitting in a magnificent carriage drawn by a team of 4 milk-white thoroughbreds, as he made a triumphal circuit of the city. Dull saw him, and thought he, what is the difference between King Videha and me? He is riding in state around his capital in a chariot drawn by 4 white horses. And I am carried in a vehicle drawn by a pair of geese. So as he passed through the air he repeated the first stanza. As over their king goes galloping with his milk-white 4 in hand. Dull has these, his pair of geese, to bear him over the land. These words made the geese angry. Their first thought was let us drop him here, and leave him. But then again they thought, what will our father say? So for fear of rebuke, they brought the creature to their father, and told all that he had done. The father grew angry when he heard it. What? Said he. Are you my son's superior, that you make yourself master over them, and treat them like horses in a carriage? You don't know your measure. This is no place for you. Get you back to your mother. And with this criticism he repeated the second stanza. Dull, my dear, there's danger here. This is no place for you. By village gates your mother waits, there you must go quickly too. With this criticism, he asked his sons to convey the bird to the dunghill outside the city of Mithila. And so they did. This lesson ended, the master identified the birth. Devadatta in those days was Dull, the 2 elders were the 2 young geese, Ananda was the father goose, and I was King Videha myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W.H.D. Rouse. Jataka number 161. Indasamānagotta-Jātaka. Friendship with evil, etc. This is a story told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about a stubborn person. And the circumstances will be found in the vulture birth, of the 9th book. The master said to this brother, in olden days, as now, you were trampled to death by a mad elephant because you were so stubborn and careless of wise men's advice. And he told the old story. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the bodhisattva was born of a Brahmin family. On growing up he left his worldly home and took to the religious life, and in time became the leader of a company of 500 hermits, who all lived together in the region of Himalaya. Amongst these hermits was a stubborn and unteachable person named Indasamānagotta. He had a pet elephant. The bodhisattva sent for him when he found this out, and asked if he really did keep a young elephant. Yes, the man said, he had an elephant which had lost its mother. Well, the bodhisattva said, when elephants grow up they kill even those who raise them. So you had better not keep it any longer. But I can't live without him, my teacher, was the reply. Oh, well, said the bodhisattva, you'll live to repent it. However, he still reared the creature, and within due course it grew to an immense size. It happened once that the hermits had all gone far to field to gather roots and fruits in the forest, and they were absent for several days. At the first breath of the south wind this elephant fell in a frenzy. Destruction to this hut, thought he, I'll smash the water jar. I'll overturn the stone bench. I'll tear up the straw mattress. I'll kill the hermit, and then off we'll go. So he ran into the jungle, and waited watching for their return. The master came first, laden with food for his pet. As soon as he saw him, he moved fast up, thinking all was well. Out rushed the elephant from the thick vegetation, and seizing him in his trunk, dashed him to the ground, then with a blow on the head crushed the life out of him. And madly trumpeting, he ran into the forest. The other hermits brought this news to the bodhisattva. Said he, we should have no dealings with the bad. And then he repeated these two verses. Friendship with evil let the good avoid. The good, who know what duty makes them do. They will work mischief, be it soon or late. Even as the elephant had his master killed. But if a familiar spirit you shall see, in virtue, wisdom, learning like to you, choose such an one to be your own true friend. Good friends and blessing go in company. In this way the bodhisattva showed his band of hermits that it is well to be docile and not obstinate. Then he performed Indasamānagotta's funeral rites, and cultivating the excellences, came at last into Brahma's upper heaven. After concluding this discourse, the master identified the birth. This unruly fellow was then Indasamānagotta, and I was myself the teacher of the hermit band.